FanDuel when I made a bet in one.
You are live, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We are live. It's Sports Reports is ordered 2-5 coming at you with the even kill. Virginia born, New Jersey bred. Do not, I repeat, do not bring feelings to a fact fight. You
Don't do
will
it.
regret it. He is Mr. Logical. As I said, I'm 2-5, your unorthodox statistician, going left so much that you thought I was southpaw. Tonight, we're going to talk to you about the NBA playoff race, a little bit of Final Four with a little bit of, I got some questions for Mr. Logical. You know what I'm saying? But of course, we're going to get it started with get it off my chest. But let's hit it. Sports Reports is ordered. Like, review, subscribe. What's up, Grandma? Yes, you are now listening to the sounds. Sports Reports is ordered. So as I said, we're going to get this party started with get it off my chest. So Mr. Logical, please do the honors.
All right. I got a couple of things. First, I'm going to shout out PRD. Go back to Kunsan 2012, 2013 avionics flight. We did it big. Every Friday, we was hitting every hooch. We was hitting the avionics hooch. We was hitting the com hooch. We was hitting the MXS hooch. We was hitting everywhere. If anybody knows about the hooches, they're just little bars that every squadron has on base at Kunsan. Mike was there doing his thing, playing basketball, being a good guy. I was out in the streets heavy, drunk every Friday, spilling pig pie and chicken teriyaki in my jersey. Matter of fact, I think when I came back from my deployment, I just hung it up. I think this is chicken teriyaki staying right here, my son's name. So let's keep it a bean. Shout out to Ramos, Nolan, who else? Who else? Leclerc, Huffy, Zimmerman, Short, Candace. So like shout out everybody out in Kunsign. I gotta shout out my military folks. Uh, but with that being said, I was a knucklehead in those days. On the back of the jersey is 31. That was how old I was then. But I was a knucklehead. I was out here drinking and just getting in trouble. Not necessarily getting in trouble. I was drinking to a point where like it's pretty crazy. You could get in trouble, but all my guys with the jerseys on, they looked out for me, got me out of situations. I got them out of situations. We protected ourselves. We protected the group, and it was an understanding. Like you throw the jersey on, we out together. We was all in the group, 10, 15, 20 deep in these jerseys, looking out for each other. So that leads me to my get it off my chest. Rasheed Rice and your boys out here racing on the interstate. Listen, I know you're innocent until proven guilty, but yo, you got to stop ignoring the cautionary tales that have been laid before you. Everybody knows they made movies about it, they made TV shows about it. I heard Mike Epps speak about it a few weeks ago on All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. When you have a guy and you make it out of humble beginnings because of his athleticism and it gets you this cash flow that you're not used to, especially on his rookie deal, it's not that much money. You got to look out for him the same way he's looking out for you. So he's put you in a position of where y'all can party. You're young, 22, 23, 24. I'm not telling you not to go out there and party, but you got to look like, yo, dog, we know how guys get suspended in the NFL. We know how people and players move. We know you're replaceable. So somebody has to have the common sense in the group to say, yo, let's not get these Corvettes and rent these Lamborghinis and race them down the highway. Let's not flee the scene. I saw one video, granted, this is just video and speculation. I heard someone say something towards the end of the video about like I saw them doing something with firearms. Don't ride around with guns. If you need a gun to go where you going, that's another thing to let you think, like, yo, dog, we don't need to go there. Let's go out to dinner. You can chase women when you're out at dinner. You can go get some clothes. and y'all can just do your thing. You don't have to go back and stunt. You don't have to go out here and drive these expensive cars because all you're doing is putting your, for lack of a better word, your meal ticket in jeopardy because he is replaceable. It's like 1,400 guys in the NFL. Every team got practice squad wide receivers that are 6'2", 6'3", hands measured at 10.5 inches that can jump 40 plus inches. Everybody has one of those guys available. He was fortunate enough to be on the team with the proverbial GOAT of this era and win a Super Bowl. You put him in a position where he can be back in Dallas with y'all doing nothing. So I get that guys are young, but somebody in the group has to have the foresight. Be like, listen, we can't do what every other negative athlete did before us. We saw the blueprint. We seen what happened with Des Bryant. We seen what happened with one of the most iconic players in sports history, Allen Iverson. If you're not old enough, I'm an old head. We saw it happen with MC Hammer and his entourage, where
Right.
it's just like you just blow your money. We've seen the 30 for 30s, but the main thing is like you put your meal ticket in a criminal situation. When you walk away from that, it can be you can get so many charges levied against him, especially if someone says, you know what, I'm gonna just take the charge. But it's too late. You're already talking in the public. You're already making statements. You're already playing to the public. You already have video evidence of you walking away from the scene. Do the smart thing because right now his career is legit in jeopardy, without a doubt. It is in jeopardy. It is in the hands of somebody else who knows he's replaceable. So, listen, you want to be part of the entourage? One of y'all got to be smart. One of y'all got to get the knucklehead back to his room. One of y'all got to get the drunk guy out of the club. One of y'all got to get your homeboy out of the situation where it looks like he might be too aggressive with a couple of women. One of y'all has to get him away from the police. One of y'all has to get him. One of y'all has to tell him we don't need to go here, or we don't need 5 bottles of Henny. We can just do a couple. It's only 4 of us. We just here have a couple of drinks. Somebody needs to have the foresight to say, April is coming, May is coming, next season is coming, your next contract is coming. You want to buy your mama a house? You can't do that if you out here with us and we all broke. So somebody has to have the foresight. Otherwise, we're just perpetuating the same negative stereotype, the same negative cycle of getting out of the hood, going back and doing hood rat shit with your friends. Cut it out. Cut it out. Shout out to Kunzan.
There you have it. Couldn't have said it better myself. There's always, I remember we always had the guy that wanted to fight everybody. Saying he wanted to go to the bar and think that he Conor McGregor or something. And, one night I remember I was drunk. I fell asleep and I just heard this thud, like a thump, like just this thud. And I woke up and this dude that was probably like 6'2" threw our like 5'6" dude, like just threw him on the ground. So I'm drunk out my mind. What do? I get up, I come swinging, bust right through the day room window, So I got to go talk to the first sergeant, like, got to take care of each other. Got to take care of each other.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But get it off my chest. So my get it off my chest isn't as heavy as Mr. Logical's. I'm going to just talk about sports real quick and lead us into this Final Four discussion. But what I want to talk about is greed and money. Earlier this year, we told you boycott Peacock. Well, now I'm telling you boycott Fox, because what are they doing? Next season, the college basketball crown, the what? You heard me correctly. The college basketball crown. So we already have March Madness. You already have the NIT. Some people call it the losers tournament. And now Fox is trying to take what's left over from the Big 12, the Big East, in the Big Ten, since those are the conferences that they have contracts with, to have a 16-team tournament that is going to take place during Final Four week. So basically, the Elite Eight happens on Saturday and Sunday, and then you got that week to play these 16 teams. 2 automatic bids from each conference, the rest of the 10 teams from a committee. So is this a thing where mid-majors are invited? Contractually, can the ACC and SEC schools play in it since they're ESPN entities? To be determined. I'm going to guess no. But why are they doing this in the middle of the transfer portal, in the middle of coaches being hired and fired? You know why? Because they think that if they have brand names, we will watch. You know, if St. John's is there, all I see is a team that was not good enough to make the NCAA tournament. It may be a team that was not good enough to make the NIT. Unless this tournament replaces the NIT. But even if that is the case, they're banking on us wanting to settle for second place. And I got a message to all of you out there. You ain't in second place. You are enough. So we got the Final Four coming up this weekend. UConn against Alabama. Purdue against NC State. So I promised you some questions, Mr. Logical.
I'm ready. I'm
going to fire off the first one. So obviously, to win the national title and become the first repeat champion since Florida back in 2007, UConn only has to beat 2 of these 3 teams. But which one of these 3 teams has the best chance to beat UConn?
I would say, and I don't, like I said, I know you were on the hot box. Shout out to the hot box earlier. I would say Purdue, and I'm imagining everyone would probably said the same thing. I'm gonna say Purdue.
No.
I'm gonna say Purdue because the college basketball, we talked about it recently. I don't think like it's that intricate of an offensive scheme. I think defensively, a lot of teams sit in 2-3 zone and hope the other team shoots poorly, and they just collapse on everything because it's so compact, because the 3-point line isn't that far from the free throw line. So you can just kind of pack it in defensively, and it's a very team defensive oriented concept. But Edey is so much bigger, not just height. Like he's wide. He's not like Wemby. Wemby's probably 7. They say he's 7'5" in his shoes, so that makes him 7'3", whatever the case may be. But he's probably 7'3", 203. At least he looks like it. Edey's 7'4", all of 254. Like he looks like
I got him listed at 300.
Well, that's probably a bad number. Yeah, I was thinking like, yeah. So he looks like a big body in comparison to everybody else. So him getting the ball above the zone at the rim, you're gonna have to foul him. Adequate free throw shooter. Like I said, he set 40 points on 21 shots. He shot 22 free throws in the Elite 8 round game. And I just imagine that he's going to be able to frustrate the NC State offense. So I think he'll have another good game in the Final Four, in the semifinal, which he's going to ride that momentum on top of all the momentum that and whatever they have going from the fact that they lost last year. Because his the way he reacted to winning when he cut the net down and he was like hugging his coach, and like you could just tell he took it on his chest last year, because he won every major individual award last year as far as player, like the Naismith, the Gatorade, every award that you can win as an individual player, he won them all. So I think he came back with a vengeance. Then if he pays attention to social media, scouting at all, people have him listed as like a late first round, maybe second round pick. Maybe that fuels him. But I just feel like that physical advantage and the fact that he is the leader of this organization, I think Purdue has the best shot of beating UConn.
Now, everybody on the hot box actually said NC State. So my answer is Alabama. I just think that Alabama has the biggest variance of. So NC State is a good answer because NC State can play any style. You want to play fast, you want to slow it down. They got Burns that can control the tempo, the clock, make great passes out of the post. I think Alabama, because they're versatile on offense from the standpoint of being able to shoot the lights out. If the shot's not falling, they're fast. I don't know how fast Purdue is outside of Lance
But if
Jones.
their shots aren't falling, doesn't that fuel UConn?
It
Like,
does.
isn't that the thing? Because they turn defense into offense.
Well,
Like
well,
that's
that's
the
why. Well, that's why I brought up the variance because
yeah.
I'm thinking of Alabama at their best. You know what I'm saying? But Alabama at their worst could lose to UConn by 45. You know what I mean? And we've seen in this tournament, UConn has led every game in this tournament by 30 at some point during the game. UConn has trailed for 28 seconds of this tournament out of a possible
Is that
100.
28 seconds total or 28 seconds in the second half? Because I heard a stat similar to that. I don't know if there's UConn now.
It was 28 seconds total out of a possible 160 minutes. So domination, right? Purdue, I like the matchup because they have the one person that is Klingen's size. He's bigger than Klingen, but they have the one person that's matching up and looking Klingen in the eye. But outside of that, I don't know if the rest of Purdue is athletic enough to cause UConn problems. So my second question.
When they force, but with Purdue and the way that the offense goes to Edie, and I think defensively, I don't see him. I don't see him getting in foul trouble because he doesn't have to really attack the guy he's defending
Right.
more than just create a nuisance with just size.
Right.
It's like we'll talk about Wemby. I don't think Wemby gets in foul trouble because he just, as long as I'm here, I can impact your shot. I can impact the pass. I can impact the shot. I can impact your vision. And I think that Edie has that same premise. I didn't think he was going to play this well. I thought it was going to be a bit of a hangover from last year. But
Well,
just watching the
was going to be
games,
my second question. Like, do they have to win the national title to be redeemed, or is this Final Four run enough of
the redemption tour?
We forgive you for losing to the 16 seed from Jersey?
I don't think so because I think people want that first round upset. Like they don't care who it happens to. They just want it because people want to see it. People want to be like, yo, you said that 16 be the one. So I don't think people are going to view it as this situation where they fell apart and they were, because I don't know how much people really care if Purdue succeeds on the college basketball landscape. So I don't think losing to a 16 seed, because when UVA lost, they lost by like 18 points.
Yeah.
Normally you lose. Yeah. Normally you lose on like a like a long 3-pointer. It's like a scrappy game and you lose 66 to 65 on a miracle 2-point shot. They lost something like 85 to 68 or 85 to 65. They got dominated by a 16 seed. It was like, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But I don't think people are looking at them like, oh, well, we expect them to be better. So I don't think there's going to be. I don't think the expectations for Purdue were that high to where anyone would care if they win or lose.
So this is their first Final Four since the year before we were born. So from that
we damn near 50. It's a lot of gray hair over here.
Hey, speak for yourself. I'm nowhere near 50.
Okay.
But I think that at this stage, you're here, so just get it done. Especially that would be the ultimate success, to lose to a 16 seed and then stop this UConn team in the national title game. That's a story, So I'm hoping they pull it off. Like, you know what I mean? I would love to see that just from the story standpoint. Like, I would love, if I had to rank it in order of who I would want to win the national title, I would say I would number one NC State, number two Alabama, three UConn, four Purdue. But for the story standpoint, to lose to a 16 seed and then come back and end the juggernaut that we know UConn to be, that's what sports are made of.
Yeah.
But then my third question, more likely to lose this weekend, UConn or South Carolina?
UConn.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Hey, the team that put out South Carolina last year is still around, right?
Yeah, Iowa. It's cool. But like I talked about in my Get Off My Chest, we have evidence to show like these behaviors and the drawbacks to these behaviors. Well, we have evidence to show don't put a 5'9" point guard on Caitlin Clark. Just put like maybe you put your most athletic defender on her. Like I would put someone out there with the
Put Flo J on her.
like an Avery Bradley kind of situation where I don't expect anything from you offensively. I want you to exhaust yourself defensively on her. We'll play 4-on-5 offensively and we'll be fine. But I want you to simply use every bit of energy you have. I'd have two girls guarding her that like, listen, I I don't want you dribbling the ball. I don't want you wasting any energy other than the energy you expend stopping her from shooting the ball at 27 feet.
Right.
Because she doesn't shoot floaters in the lane. She gets to the rim or she passes. She shoots like that. She shoots the side, like she'll dribble left, and she was killing Haley. She was working hard to get to these screens, but it was like I don't know, number 44 just was a big body. She was putting a mean screen on her every time. And I guess the other girl, Shekels, I forgot her name was, and it just was like she just got enough space. Like I said before, she's probably closest to playing like Steph Curry than anybody else. I think Dame Lillard has that kind of style. Trey Young has a little bit, but the percentages are off. But for her, if you put up like the simulcast of Steph Curry coming off the screens with the ball and Caitlin Clark, it looks very, very, very similar. And you put Dame in there too. So I would just put my best defender on her if they meet in the championship game. I just put my best defenders on her and just like, listen, just exhaust yourself.
So
I want you getting an IV at halftime because I want you to work that hard to stop her from shooting the ball.
So if Iowa does not win the national title, does not, is Caitlin the first woman to get the "you choked" treatment?
No, because I think people have already been kind of like, we've been doing this a lot. We being sports, basketball pundits, we can go with the Jordan LeBron debate, the Steph debate, Kobe debate, who are your teammates, so forth and so on. So like this week I've heard multiple times, like Caitlin Clark, she was a top 50 in her senior class, and another one of her teammates was top 50 in their senior class before they came into college. I guess UConn, South Carolina, LSU, they all have between like 5 and 7 top 50 teammates. She has one. So I think people are already kind of laying the groundwork because in the women's game, we don't see many upsets in the first round because the top women's teams have the top crop of talent from the country. USC has the best players. UConn has the best players. Like I said, you don't get a lot of University of Northern Iowa with a potential 4 or 5 star recruit out of high school that decided to stay home and go to Northern Iowa, where you could get that in the men's game where you get a transfer from Kentucky that goes back home to Northern Iowa and, whatever the case may be. It doesn't really happen that often in the women's game. So the team that she has is like, if you take her off, they're a first round exit. So she's so good and so impactful. And it's so fluid. It looks as if she wants that shot every time. Like, I want this 26 and a half foot 3-point shot. I'm gonna run off the screen. I'm gonna run off this one. I'm gonna come off this way, but I'm shooting this shot. And when they had LSU on the ropes, she was firing off. It was that killer instinct. She was like, sometimes you see it with players, they don't want to heat check or they don't want to we're up 5. But she's like, as soon as they went up 5, she's like, we're going up 8. If I get this ball back, we're going up 8. Just I think South Carolina will just be able to punish them inside.
Yeah, and I mean,
the athleticism, I think they'll be able to get to the rim. Even though she's putting up threes, I think they'll be able to shut the other, because I think in the game against LSU, they had 2 other girls score 20 points. So she dropped 40. Another girl, forgot her name. She dropped 20, 21. A couple of them dropped 18 off of assists from her. Not just solely from her, but like they were all in the flow because they couldn't guard Caitlin 27 feet out. That she was just getting them, they were getting easy looks on the backside.
Well, I know, she had the 41-point triple-double last year against South Carolina. If I didn't despise Gino so much, I would love to see Paige Beckers get a title and, finish off her redemption story with all the injuries and all the setbacks that she had.
She plays a lot like Dame. She plays inside, outside, contact, free throws. Just because when UConn was down, because we watched the game Monday, I think they were down like 16, maybe 17-5. And I was like, oh, this might be something different. And then you and I were talking, we were doing the show, going through it. I looked back, the score was 23-21. I was like, what happened?
USC was taking dumb shots. That's what happened.
And then Paige happened, and she's like, I'm about to fire off. But yeah.
USC, my national title pick, by the way. Way to go.
You had a good chance. You took a good swing. Allergy season, sometimes you got to mic the mic.
Yeah, this oak, it lasts all the way through April, and it's severe right now. So it's just one.
I had to close my window.
But yeah, so getting back to the Final Four, to the on court stuff. NC State is not scared of Purdue. Over the last 3 weeks, they've beaten Marquette, North Carolina, and Duke twice. So they are not afraid of Purdue.
Yeah, like I said, we talked about the Duke matchup. Duke, they realized that Duke had Kelly Kapowski down there, couldn't play any defense. It's like there's only so much you could do. I get Duke is a great historic program, but just schematically, what they were doing didn't work. He won't be able to do what he did to I'm still gonna call him Kelly Kapowski. Shout out to Saved by the Bell. He's not gonna be able to do that to Edie. It's too big. He's just too big. Even if he wanted to bang, he's like, okay, we could do this all day because I'm gonna go on my end and do the same thing, and you're gonna be fouling him, hitting the balls in here. He's gonna be getting free throws out of it.
Well, what I want to know is who's Edie bringing with him. Is Lance Jones going to step up again? He hit the big shot against Tennessee, transfer from Southern Illinois. You got Fletcher Lawyer, former Mr. Indiana Player of the Year 2 years ago. Purdue's the second best 3-point shooting team in the country. And then you have
they're gonna have a lot of space because they're gonna double Edie and he's gonna find someone, and they're gonna get open looks.
You had Marquette. NC State held Marquette to 4 for 31 from the 3-point line. They held Duke.
How do you shoot 31 3-pointers?
You just fight, let it fire. I don't know.
I'm telling you, man, these coaches get fired.
They held Duke to 5 for 20. So
that's respectable.
So that's going to be the key to the game, because we know that Edie is going to have an impact on the game one way or the other. Can NC State's 3-point defense travel? I know you were talking the other day about how you get in these football stadiums and the depth perception is off. So is it possible that Purdue is going to get off to a slow start and NC State will be able to build some momentum, maybe even build a lead instead of having to come from behind?
Well, depends on how much time they get to practice, because so we had the show Monday. The Final Four was set Sunday. First game is Saturday. So if they get a couple of practices between, I imagine they traveled on Monday or Tuesday. They get a couple of practices and maybe they get that depth perception part figured out. Um, my eyes are to the left here because I'm watching Jokic destroy the Clippers. Um,
We'll get to that later.
yeah, but I think they because, like I said, working the ball inside out. I understand the new basketball format is shoot the three, get the rebound, lay it up. But if just flip that, get the ball to the post, go for the layup first. The double comes, he kicks it out. Now you have an open three. I think that's the difference. That's probably why they shoot the three so well, is because they have someone down low that requires 4 to 6 eyes on him.
Right.
Either side. So if he goes from one side of the box, as the ball goes around, he comes to the other side. If you're in a 2-3, like people have to watch out because the help is going to come from somewhere. You're not going to leave your guy on an island the way Duke was leaving their guys on an island with a skilled big man down low. That's just not smart basketball. Unless they want to stay glued to the shooters and see if this guy can beat you, that's a dangerous game because, like I said, he's that much bigger. If they matched up size-wise, being NC State, if they had a 7'2" guy that was 7'2", 280, like an Embiid versus Jokic situation, okay, I'll let you two battle it out because skill for skill, you're going to give the same defensive intensity and offensive skill set. But if you can't match him physically, he's gonna eat at the rim. The rim's 10 feet. He didn't even use the ladder to cut the net down.
All right. So here we go. This is always one of my favorite, things. So Mr. Logical, what do you think the spread on this game is?
On Purdue, NC State?
Yeah.
I got Purdue favored by 5.5.
Purdue by 9.5. Sounds like I might be putting some money on the Wolfpack, but I am going to take Purdue to win the game. I think Purdue is on a mission. NC State is playing with house money, and that should be factored in. Nobody expected them to be here. They can get here, or they can stay here many different ways. Like I mentioned, DJ Horn, can take over the game. Burns can take over the game. They have senior leadership everywhere. Morsel, Diarra will, I'm sure, switch on Edie from time to time. So they have the ability, they have the makeup to be able to pull the upset. I just think that we're destined for the two big men on Monday night
to be the show.
Yeah. So speaking of which, what do you think the line on Alabama UConn is?
10.5.
11.5.
Ooh.
So
Vegas, here I come, baby.
And like I said the other night, Latrell Wrightsell is back. He's practicing. We don't know if he's going to play or not. If he does play, that provides Alabama another shooter to be able to spread the floor out. And it's going to be interesting to see where Stephon Castle is deployed to. Who's he going to defend for UConn? So now Mark Sears, who came alive against Clemson, Grant Nelson, who was the hero against North Carolina, can Alabama get them both on the same page at the same time? Because that will be required if they're going to pull this upset.
Yeah, Grant got in some foul trouble against Clemson, but the Clemson refs, I remember I was watching the game, in that game, the refs kind of got a little too involved. I think they were blowing the whistle a little too much because Pringle got a lot of free throws. I'm like, a big man contact down low is like everything isn't a foul. Every time another body part touches a body part down low isn't a foul. And it just felt like it messed with the flow of the game, to a certain point. But like it impacted both teams because Grant Nelson, coming off that great game against North Carolina, was on the bench. He had 3 fouls, put him on the bench. put him back in. Few possessions up down the court, got his fourth foul, got to take him back out again. And that's when you said Sears. But Sears was cramping against North Carolina. So if you're the Alabama coach, you're like these guys, if like you said, if they were clicking on the same cylinder, we'd be good to go. But Sears was like tired and cramped up against North Carolina, but Grant Nelson took off. But him being on the bench, so the young guy, I think number 15, he hit like 3 or 4 threes from the corner. So that offset. So that's what the tournament's about. Sometimes it's just that guy that, like I saw with Grambling. They had a guy who averaged 6 points all year long in the 16 versus 16 game in the opening round. Comes out, get you like 19 points to include like tie games in overtime. Like the tournament gives you these moments. And I think we kind of forget it because we watch so many games and get all the upsets. But every single round, like these guys just step up. Guys are improving their draft stock. Guys are improving their popularity. I saw a video today. They came to see North Carolina State players. The line was out the door and down the street. Guys want to get, fans want to get autographs. Keep in mind, 2 weeks ago, these guys were barely squeaking their way through the ACC tournament. Now they're popular. I think Burns has like 5 or 6 NIL deals that he inked since the tournament started.
Yeah, apparently NFL teams are interested in him now.
NFL teams are looking at him because of his footwork. So, like, a lot of things can happen in this tournament. And if I'm in NCAA, I'm happy with both sides, like the women's tournament, the men's tournament. I mean, if you thought the sports was scripted, like this is the standard we're going to go with every week when we talk, this is what it would look like.
Yeah, that's why I brought up Jaden Bradley the other day because, he probably isn't Arizona's third best player, but he was the one hitting all the shots. He was the only one hitting the shots against Clemson because we know that Caleb Love wasn't, you know. So, like, it's just one of those things, and you just never know where it's going to come from. So, like, that's the question for Alabama. Who's going to step up? Because looking at Mark Sears, I think that Stephon Castle, I don't want to say he can erase him, but he can erase him because we've seen him hold Boo Buie, who was Northwestern's all-time leading scorer, to 2 for 15. He held Terrence Shannon the other day, the third leading scorer in the country, 2 for 12. So he does have the ability to take away what works best for you. So who is going to come through the door for Alabama because Grant Nelson can't do it by himself if Sears is nullified.
Correct.
So who's going to do it? We talked about Coach Hurley the other day. He has a little bit of that Nick Saban in him where even if you're up 10, he found something that you did wrong. So you don't have to worry about UConn blowing a lead. But what if it's a close game?
I don't think we have a lot of recent evidence to support that UConn is going to be in a close game.
But that's the thing, though. But what if they are?
Alabama. So I watched the past couple of Alabama games. I watched North Carolina game, and I watched the Clemson game. They got hot with less than like 9 minutes, 10 minutes left in the second half. Like Grant Nelson went on his run. I think he had like 16 or so points in that last 10 minutes. If you got to get 30 minutes into the game to catch fire, where you're hitting three out of 3 threes and out of 4 possessions and getting this run, or you're getting the layups in the and one, UConn's already going to have you up against the ropes if it takes you that long to get hot. Because, like I said, Grant Nelson scored like 16 points or so in the UNC game after like the 10 minutes, like after like 30 minutes have already been played in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think UConn's consistency, I think the coaching consistency is going to like just weigh on them. So that 11.5 that Vegas is talking, it seems realistic. But like I said, if you get hot, you get hot. But you can't wait and hope that you're going to be able to get hot late, because more than likely you're going to either be in, if you're not scoring, if you're an offensive player used to scoring, you don't play defense well if you're not scoring. The energy's not right. Like that's why guys when guys get hot, it's like, oh, he had 50 points, 11 assists, 8 rebounds, and 3 steals. Oh, because the ball's getting in. The ball's going through the hoop. I'm feeling good. I'm bounced. I got a bounce in my step. Guys who are scorers don't get a bounce in their step from being good defensively. So a lot of times you'll probably catch a guy that's normally a good scorer. Grant Nelson gets into foul trouble. Shots not falling. You chase the rebound down. Now you got a silly foul 80 feet from the opposing hoop.
Yeah.
Stuff like that happens to. So if they don't get hot early, which recent history has shown that UConn doesn't allow you to get hot early, and it can shut you down for long periods of time, it's going to be a situation where Sears might cramp up again because they're going to need him to play a lot of minutes. They're going to need him to play a lot of quality minutes.
Yeah, and who do you put him on? Is he going to guard Tristan Newton? Because that's the head of the snake. Even though Klingon is the 7'2" monster, Tristan Newton is the engine that makes UConn go, even going back to last season. And I swear every time I blink, Alex Caravan is hitting a big shot. So Alabama's definitely in an uphill climb. So,
Yeah.
I'm going to take UConn to win. I'm going to take UConn over Purdue on Monday night. Repeat national champion.
I will watch the games and I'll make my championship pick based off of how if UConn carries the same defensive, I'm not talking a 30-0 run, but if they go on a 17-2 run, or if they go on one of these runs where it's like they get up 15, 16, 20 points and it looks effortless, it looks like it's a great flow, it looks like the coach, the rotation. If all of that's working, it's going to be tough to beat.
Yeah.
So I'll reserve my prediction until after I see the semifinal matchups.
Okay. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Taking the chicken way out. Okay.
Hey, listen, this is a logical way out. The logical way out. But I'm saying this is what I do.
It is what it is. But hey, we're already in the thick of March Madness. We're in the Final Four, but the NBA is coming to an end regular season wise. Play-in starts in 12 days, ladies and gentlemen. 12 days until the play-in. So I saw something funny that caught my eye. I was looking at the Lakers because, they went on their run last year from the play-in, got to the Western Conference Finals, ran into the man known as Jokic. Being a wrestling fan, it's like, this is Sting, So as I was looking at this stat, so the Lakers started out in 9th place 30 games ago. They went 20-10 over these 30 games.
Still in 9th place.
16-7 since the trade deadline and have not moved.
No, yeah. I heard that same thing.
That tells you everything about the West right there. You know what I mean? But as we're coming towards the end of the season, and I know we've had this conversation before, are you more or less confident that the Lakers can make a similar run to last year?
I'm not confident that they can make that run because if that was the case, they wouldn't be in 9th. Like I know people say it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. But the people who start out fast in the marathon and then kind of tailor off are still way ahead of the people who started slow in this marathon and are incrementally speeding up. I'm already too far ahead of you. My chemistry's too far ahead of you. My rotations are locked in. I didn't make a move at the trade deadline that worked somebody in. I didn't bring somebody in on a buyout. There's no beef between the head coach and the star player. The pressure on the organization doesn't the pressure on the organization matches what you have, like your expectations. Like Denver's pressure is to repeat as champion, but they have all the pieces in place to repeat. So it's a matter of, are you going to repeat or not? The Lakers' expectation is to win a championship, and they don't have the pieces in place, in my opinion, to be there. Because if that was the case, they'd be closer to 3 or 4. And I understand that with the West, Like I could pull up the standings now where it's like, oh, you're a couple of games out of fifth, but the problem is the reason you're out of fifth is because you've lost 8 of your last 9 to Sacramento. They're ahead of you. You went 1-2, I think, against Denver this year. They're ahead of you. You went 1-2 against Timberwolves. They're ahead of you. So it's not a matter of like just looking at the record as just numbers. It's how the numbers apply to your success. You're not that good against these teams. You can get hot for one night and beat Milwaukee. Excuse me. They have the talent to compete. They don't have great shooters, but I think what they have is when they're on, they're on. When AD is on, he is on.
Yeah,
Not a
last
lot of
10
guys.
games, 29-16.
Yeah, not a lot of guys move the way he moves at that size, but the guys who are on par with him beat him every time. Embiid, Sabonis, Jokic. Yeah, if DeAndre Jordan was starting against Denver as a big, I give him a shot. But it seems as if you can beat up on Brooke Lopez, but when it comes down to you winning the battle with Jokic, winning the battle with Sabonis, Chet is new. I don't know if they really have like a real history yet because, like I said, it's rookie year. Excuse me, allergies, apologies. But that's the thing. So it's like, are you going to be able to beat the matchup with Gobert or Karl Anthony Towns? Because that's what it boils down to. Because you're going to have to beat a team that's better than you.
Well, can they get out of the play-in?
I think they can get out of the play-in because the play-in is the Pelicans. I mean,
it's one game.
so
All it takes is Steph to get hot once. You know what I mean? Which we've seen happen before.
yeah, but I think okay, if you look at the Warriors have like they beat the brakes off of Houston tonight. So Houston's essentially
Yeah, that was supposed to be an elimination game, but Houston just decided to eliminate themselves. And
yeah. So which happens, like I said, it's we started in October. We know how many games you have. We know historically one team per year might get close to 60 wins. And that team is going to be way above everyone else. Everyone else is going to hover around 55. Like that's your top teams in the West or the East are going to be around 50, 52, 53, 54 wins. If your team can't get to that, if you're sitting at 30 something wins in the beginning of March, you can't expect it to be like, yo, we're going to win the next 11 games. And that's not how it works. You got to be consistent throughout the year. Get your rotation down. Get your players down. You can roll 10 players out there. You can go with 9. You're gonna tighten your rotation to 7 to 8 players in the playoffs. All of that stuff you figure out throughout the year. Certain teams, have done that. Yeah, shout out to M.A. Doka.
mm-hmm. Yeah, Houston gonna be a problem in about 2 years.
But the problem, Houston has the old free agents with the young guns.
Mm-hmm.
So they paid the old guys a lot of money. Jalen Green out here, like he's trying to get child support money. So
That's
you have
exactly
to
what it is.
you're gonna have to cut his check. And it's gonna be like a Zion kind of check. It's gonna be like that. What's that 4-year 190 rookie deal extension?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. I don't know like I don't know what the pot's looking like in Houston. But
Well, I know
they're gonna have to
the
dip
word
into
on the
it.
street is that Tillman Fertitta is a cheapskate. So we'll see what happens when we got to cross that bridge. As I was looking at this, I've been on record. People been calling me a hater because
Let's hear it.
I've been talking about Glenn Rivers, and so a lot of people call me a hater first of all because I don't call him Doc, but his mama called him Glenn. I'm gonna call him Glenn, right? Um, Lost back-to-back games to the Wizards and the Grizzlies this week. 15-15 overall since he took over as head coach. And there's a guy sitting around the play-in, hovering around, 7'2" or 7'3", depending on what you believe, coming off of an injury, getting back into basketball shape. We've seen Boston versus Milwaukee. We've seen Milwaukee versus Miami, Boston versus Miami. We have not seen Philadelphia versus Milwaukee. And I feel like I'm here for it, but Milwaukee's not.
I don't think we get that matchup. I mean, the play-in, and this is like I said. I know you aren't a fan of the play-in, and this conversation that we're about to embark on now is why I'm kind of a fan of it. You got the Hawks at 36-40. They're at a 10 seed. So it
We
looks
done
like
with the Hawks.
you got Pacers, Sixers, Bulls, Hawks. That's your 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well, technically, the Heat just lost.
The Heat.
So
So yeah, so now you got the Heat. So the Heat at 7, because like I said, it hasn't updated yet. So you got the Heat, they're at 7, but they're going to go back and forth. So between the Heat, Pacers, 76ers, Bulls, Hawks, you're saying you're out on the Hawks, probably out on the Bulls as well. But like that whole get hot thing, I wouldn't bet on people getting hot unless the odds were super slant in my favor and I could put $25 out on this bet and it turns to 125. But for the most part, that's probably not going to happen. But you get your 9-10 matchup of Bulls Hawks, and you get your 7-8 matchup of Sixers Pacers. If I'm Milwaukee, I am begging the Pacers to beat the Sixers. That way, Boston has to deal with Embiid.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to deal with it. Because
especially
you never know. Like he might have been
Boston
healed.
had.
Yeah, he might have been ready to go 2 weeks ago. And they said, okay, now we're gonna get you in basketball shape. You know, and they always say like nothing really prepares you other than like the actual live game.
Right.
But maybe they simulate underwater treadmill, maybe do a lot of one-on-one full court drills, whatever they're doing in Philly to keep them ready to go, lock, cock, and ready to rock. And now he's back because he looked like he was moving fine, and he had a play where Bam dove. They both dove for loose ball, and Bam kind of fell on his knees, and he got back up and he kept playing. So if he's ready to go, it's a dangerous matchup because you got Maxey, Kelly Oubre, these guys kind of just figured out, okay, this is what I can do. Kyle Lowry's there, veteran presence, level headed, championship pedigree. He's like, so this is what we can do without him. So maybe Embiid plays 32 minutes because these guys can manage without him for 4 or 5 minute stretches. You can get them 25 actual minutes of rest in between, like the end of the first and when he comes back in the second, stuff like that.
Yeah,
so that's gonna be a terror for Milwaukee because they butchered their season when they fired their coach when he was 30-13.
Yeah, and Philly also has Buddy Hield, bringing in some shooting that they sorely needed. I don't like the Melton injury. That might prove big for Philly, even though he's not a big scorer, but there are other elements to the game besides scoring.
Yeah.
Indiana they've had Milwaukee's number this year. But obviously
they beat him in the end season tournament.
Yeah, we're obviously not seeing the same Halliburton, so maybe that will change a little bit. When I look at the 3 through 5, it gets really interesting because Orlando is only a half a game behind Cleveland for the 3 seed. Now what I do know is that Orlando cannot score. So all you folks out there that missed those early 2000, 81-74 playoff games, if we get Orlando and the Knicks, you might get a throwback series because Julius Randle is out for the season. And regardless of what Mr. Logical thinks, I am not happy about that. And then we got Anunoby, OG Anunoby, with is being labeled as a tennis elbow now. So now we don't know if Anunoby is going to be back or not. So the Knicks just went from...
Yo, it's so painful being a Knicks fan.
I know.
It's painful, yo. New York City is probably full of the most passionate people on earth. I mean, they love their teams. love them. I watched dudes get kicked out of the Jet games by security because they were cussing the ref out in the second quarter on a holding
Josh
call.
Hart. Yeah.
Like just literally just, and I know the passion. So they get to this point. They thought Randall was going to be back and be ready for the playoffs. Anunoby was a great trade. Everyone's been, not everyone, but like a lot of the pundits been saying like that was one of the better in season trades, in
Yeah,
season
they
like
were killing it.
acquisitions.
They were something like 11-2 before he got hurt.
And it's like, nah, you might not get him back either. It
And,
could be
and
one of those years where the Knicks are out in the first round and it's just a letdown.
yeah, and Bogdanovich never met a player he wanted to defend. And so as we look at this, the Knicks went from the trendy pick of Boston doesn't want to see the Knicks in the second round to like I think the Knicks
Might not have enough guns.
they're just here. You know what I mean? At this point, Jalen Brunson would have loved to have Julius Randle back. Just to have another person to do the ball handling and helping out there. But McBride has stepped up, come into the lineup. But you just never know what young players are going to do once the light of the playoffs come on. So since Dallas Mike is up here, and no, that's what I said. I said McBride stepped up. That's what I said. What I'm saying? But as Dallas Mike would say, he tried to put us on notice that the Mavs are coming. And now that the Mavs have their new starting lineup with Daniel Gafford and Derek Jones in the lineup, 13-2, and so their defense has picked up.
Hold on, real quick. Let me give him his flowers. Personally, from me, when he said it, I was like, "Stop it! These dudes got nothing. They're gonna be done in the playoffs just like they were last year." And I think since I said that, they've been on the tear. So shout out Dallas Mike. I'll give you flowers. You made a hefty prediction, but it's kind of slanted because you're Dallas Mike.
Well, he's Dallas Mike for the Cowboys, though. But you know what I mean. But yeah, as I look at the West, I was trying to think about this earlier. If the Mavs were in a series with anybody, just looking at all the teams in the playoff area, who would I definitively think can beat Dallas? So like I don't think Dallas can beat Denver in a series, right? But Jamal Murray is also hurt right now. But like all things created equal, healthy, I don't think Dallas can beat Denver. I think Dallas could beat OKC. I question Minnesota if Cat is back, but they could beat Minnesota.
Because you have I think with Dallas having the type of superstar player that they have makes them dangerous because Kyrie is so dynamic as an individual player as well, coupled with the way Luka can. We all saw he scored 73 points. And for some reason, that hasn't been a big conversation this year. Multiple guys going for 70, including the guy going for 73.
Talk about LeBron for the 1,000th time,
Blows my mind. The man dropped 73 points. Granted, the Hawks, I could probably get 13 on them, but he dropped 73 points. He does play different in the playoffs because I believe Luka has the it factor. We talk about that with a lot of recruits and quarterbacks and star players and pundits and just people, like popular people in general, the it factor. I don't think the moment's ever too big for Luka. Do I think he makes the best decisions every single time? No. But I don't think he walks onto the court thinking that whoever is guarding him or whomever is lined up as an opposing team is going to impact him. I don't think he walks out there and sees the Clippers and says, "Man, I really hope that Kawhi doesn't switch on me, or hope they don't try to double me or the pick and roll or whatever." I don't think he thinks that at all. Hence why he seems to play at a different level in the playoffs, where we talk about role players playing different at home than they do on the road. I think a guy like Michael Porter Jr., we'll go Brown, the young guy, Christian Brown from Denver. He's a young guy. I think he goes into a series, even if it's the 2-7 matchup and they end up with the Pelicans. I think he might feel the pressure and the magnitude of the season, whereas Luka's like, I don't care who's over there. Give me the ball. Make sure it's the ball that I like. Get in this book bag. We about to make it to the promised land.
So you know how we always talk about, not us, but just sports in general. We always talk about nobody wants to see this team. Like, that could be Dallas, but I think the Suns are the team that there's not anybody that Phoenix wants to see.
I don't think people fear Phoenix because I can neutralize two of your best three guys by just putting big bodies on them. Either I'm going to put a big body on Booker, or I'm going to put a big body on Beal, and I'm going to just let Kevin Durant exhaust himself against one of my better defenders.
And I feel like Beal is stuck in the 1990s. Like, like Devin Booker's got the mid-range thing going on. KD can do pretty much anything on the court.
They're all a bunch of mid-range guys. They're all like 18-footers.
But I feel like Bradley Beal still wants to play ISO ball. Like, he don't move at all. He doesn't cut. He doesn't he's very stationary.
He can be completely neutralized.
Yeah, but he'll do it to himself.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think there's been. I like Bradley Beal a lot.
I've
always liked him. Well, you're a Wizards fan. I thought him and Russ worked well together. I thought him and John Wall were going to work better together. I knew that when he went to Phoenix, I was like, that's a move y'all didn't need to make. Like, I would rather have 4 role players get me 7 to 9 points each, but can also defend and rebound and just be on the floor versus if I could get 30 points from Bradley Beal, I still would take the 4 players giving me 7 to 9 points.
If you felt like you had to make a move, just because, you're trying to stack up or whatever, I'd have probably tried to get in on the Drew Holiday thing.
I don't know why they didn't just try to smooth things over with DeAndre Ayton, because that is the KD Booker Ayton looks more like the Boston 3 party, which was successful, contrary to like the results. They got 1 championship, but they went to 2 finals. They beat Kobe. They beat LeBron to get there to beat Kobe.
They might have had a third finals if KG didn't get hurt in the middle year.
And then LeBron, if LeBron doesn't have 45, 15, and 5 in game 6, they're back in the finals again after winning it. So it's like, that's the piece that like I always think about is that if I'm gonna build a 3-headed monster of a team, I need the 3 players to do like 3 different things very well. You got 3 guys who all basically do the same thing, to where defensively, I don't even have to I'm like, okay, cool. You guys just stay on him, and we'll see if this one guy can fire off. Like Booker when he dropped 52, they barely won that game.
Yeah,
he had 52 points.
So is there another team in the West? Like we talked about Dallas already. Is there another team that you see below, say, the 4 seed that you think the higher seeds don't want to play?
So 5, 6, 7, 8 keys.
Because the only thing I can think of is, like, if I'm OKC, I feel pretty good about my season. But if I'm OKC, I don't want to see the Lakers.
Well, if you're OKC, you're good to go because you can book 30 points. I got 30 points at 3A. I got 30 points.
Maybe. Remember I asked that question a couple of weeks ago. Is he going to be the new Harden where when the playoffs start, he's not going to get some of those calls and free throws that he gets?
He's a smaller guy. So his fouls, Harden's a big dude.
He is,
So,
but
so
Harden knew how to manipulate the refs
yeah,
too.
but Harden would flail. He is okay. Like I said, I use an example all the time. I have a couple of friends. I have a family of friends that are tall. I got a cousin named Al's like 6'7". I got 3 friends in Utah that are 6'6", 6'5", and 6'4". These are giant people. The way James Harden flailed his arms back in those playoff runs when he was getting hit, he was acting like he was 5'11". I'm like, no one's hitting you that hard to where you're just falling apart when you get contact. SGA is not that big. So if he does get bumped, he's gonna it's that's why he still gets the points in the and ones, because he's literally getting bumped trying to score. Whereas Harden would just throw his arms through and just let the ball go as part of the theatrics
So
out there, like Brad Pitt in Fight Club, just make it seem like everything just going haywire. That's why he doesn't get the calls in the playoffs, because you're playing against the same team more than likely 5 to 6 games, because it's rare that teams get swept. And it just teams just figure out, like, okay, like the Utah series when they just played behind them,
do we
when they
think?
let him get in the paint, play behind him. So like I think SGA, you can book them for 30 points. I don't think any of these teams are feeling any of these guys 6 to 10. I don't think anybody 1 through 5 is looking at these guys 6 through 10 like, oh my god, we can't beat them.
Last question. Do we think, because I know, people talk about, we've heard Shaq talk about the switch, all that stuff. Is it possible that the Clippers have a switch,
No,
or are they done for?
nah, they. All right, Denny Green. We already thought they were. We let them off the hook.
You want to crown them? Crown their asses.
We want to crown our asses. Like, this isn't a secret league. It's not like, let me keep. No, I want to go out here and win every single game. If you get to this point where we're 75 games into the season, you got 34, 36, 31 losses, that's who you are. If you are Timberwolves, Thunder, Nuggets, excuse me, pardon me, 50 plus wins, I'm not, if I'm sitting at 53 wins and I turn on TV and the question is, who's more dangerous in the playoffs, the Lakers or the Warriors? I'm like, yo, I got 53 wins. What? How are they more dangerous than me, the guy with wins?
Because they have the experience.
And they had that experience in February
But
when they
remember
played 5 games in
we
8
had the
days.
same conversation last year after the trade deadline. I told you, hey, I like the moves that the Lakers made. I think the Lakers are going to cause some trouble. And you said Lakers ain't gonna do shit. And then they
Yeah,
ended up in the Western Conference Finals. Like,
correct. They played one of the most immature basketball teams in the history of
but you knew
sports.
that already.
Yes, but I didn't think Ja was going to be hurt. He missed the game. They had a game going to overtime. I didn't think Dylan Brooks was going to poke the bear and literally say, "I poke bears." I was like, I didn't think that they would collapse that bad, because we talked about the record without Ja. It was like, okay, that head coach has a grip on that team. The problem is the success went to their heads. We haven't had these same reports out of Memphis this year. There's no strip clubs, there's no guns, obviously there's no Dylan Brooks in the building. Even Dylan Brooks in Houston, we haven't gotten that same thing. I think they got to the point where they had the same success that the Timberwolves are having this year, but they behaved like they wanted to do hood rat shit with their friends. Instead of being like, yo, we're a professional team. We've turned the corner, going from being in the play-in to now we are at the top of our conference. I think OKC is locked that in. I think the Nuggets, because it was a couple of years, Jokic got kicked out of their last game in the playoffs against Phoenix when he slapped Campaign in the face, and then comes back, puts together MVP season, doesn't win MVP, but does go on, make a good playoff run, wins the title. So it's like these certain moments happen to the teams. I think the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, and the Thunder have earned the respect to not think that some team that's scrambling in the play-in is gonna beat them after they get in the play-in.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But then again, this is why we played the games.
Real quick, I want to give a shot. I want to give credit to Kevin Wiles. First things first, he said this earlier today, and it makes so much sense. And he was referencing LeBron, and what he said was, no. Trust me, you'll like this one. He was like, "You guys are talking about LeBron and the Lakers the way we talk about Tiger Woods when the Masters are coming up. We all know that Tiger Woods has had a steep decline. He was a legend for years. But it's like, oh, you don't want to see Tiger Woods in the first round. He's looking good. And then he makes the cut. And you're like, oh, he made the cut after the second round. You don't want to see him on Saturday. Up, he's within 6 strokes on Sunday. Up, Tiger. And it's like, realistically, that's not a realistic position to come back to win a championship. That's not where you would want a guy. Like if you had Rory McIlroy at 6, he's down by 6 shots coming into Sunday. You wouldn't think that he was gonna close that gap and win a tournament. But because it's Tiger Woods, you say, hey, never know. He puts that red shirt on Sunday, and he's gonna make a run. And there's no evidence to support it other than his legendary status. I think sometimes we do that with the Lakers. Is that right now the Lakers at best, maybe they get to the Western Conference Finals. And it's not because I don't think the players are great. I just think that what you need to win, these other teams have been doing it better all year long. The coaches have been doing it better than the LA coaching staff. The GMs made better moves than the LA front office. The other teams have younger stars that give you the same things for their team that AD and LeBron give you for LA, but with better role players. So it's only so much I can love everything about LeBron's game. I can love everything about the historic what he's done historically. 40,000 points, 10,000 assists, 10,000 rebounds, being top 3 here, 5 here, 1 here. I can love all of that. But if he goes out and he gives you 25 points, SGA can get you 30 to 32 points. Chet can get you 20 points. Giddey's going to get you 16 points, 6 or 7 assists, 7 or 8 rebounds. You're going to get tons of defensive effort from the younger bodies, the 22, 23, 24-year-old guys. Their start lineups averaging like 24 and a half years old.
It might be
if I would have, I'm 42 right now. If I told you, hey man, I'm fighting a kid tomorrow at the gym who's 26, you can see the size of my hands. You can know my muscles are big. I'm like, yo, you're fighting a dude 16 years younger than you. He might just outlast you. And I think that's what's gonna. I think that's part of Lakers.
Well, yeah, that's what's gonna happen anyway. But
they don't have a young star to go with their old head.
If they make it to the Western Conference Finals, that's still a success to everybody but LeBron. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. I'm saying best case scenario, everything goes right. I don't think that they're going to be able to even make it that far. I'm saying
no, I don't
everything goes in their favor. Every matchup falls in their favor. They get the call at the end of the game. One of their guys gets like Austin Reeves or D'Lo gets hot and gets you 37 points or something like. They need something like that to happen, which is not like you said coming back to the mean.
Yeah,
D'Lo's not getting you 37 points.
Probabilities say no.
Say no, and it's like I think there's nothing wrong with you looking at it from that vantage point. Especially when it comes to a 4 out of 7 tournament, a 1 out of 3 or best 2 out of 3, anything can happen. But 4 out of 7, that's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah. So, like I said, I don't think Phoenix wants to play anybody. The Pelicans are the wild card to me. Who they have what you need. They have Herb Jones. They have Trey Murphy. Ingram's out right now. Zion's lasted the season finally. So like the Pelicans have things, and I love Willie Green. I think he's a really good coach.
But in
They,
the playoffs,
but in a playoff
something
series,
has to be dynamic.
right?
You
Exactly.
need something dynamic about
But I
you
will
need
tell you.
something that the other coach can't game plan for.
But I will tell you. I don't think Minnesota wants New Orleans.
I don't see why not.
Yeah, that's because you must not have watched them play this year against each other. They don't want the Pelicans, especially if Cat's not going to be back. But that's about it. Like, that's the one matchup that I look at right now. If we were to get it, that's the one where I'm like, one of these Western teams, the top three potentially, is going to fall early. Outside of that, I think par for the course for the most part. I think we like to romanticize. Steph is coming. Steph ain't going nowhere.
Like you said, we love the Cinderella in the first round. We hate it in the championship round. But the NBA legislated out the Cinderella when they moved from best of 5 to best of 7. Right. Is when I think Denver knocked the Supersonics out back in the day, and Dikembe Mutombo's on the floor with the ball in his hand, like doing this. Like that's the NBA wants 1, 2, 3, and 4. The expectation is my biggest stars, Luka, Jokic, and
I don't know if that's
LeBron,
true say, though. I don't know if that's true about the NBA.
No. Like the expectation
they want 1, 2, and 3 when it's LA, New York, Boston. They don't.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Because your expectation is my star players are going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4 in each conference. So that's the expectations. Like, but the reason that that's the case is because it's set up to where you can't beat them without a little luck.
Right.
You get home court advantage. You get the travel days. You get, so you have like the days off, and with the play-in, especially with the play-in, 7, 8, 9, 10. These guys are all playing a couple extra games while the 1 seeds are locked in. Maybe because you have 53 wins for the Nuggets and the Timberwolves and 52 for the Thunder. Maybe they play a couple of guys later. But I think some of these teams might be like, you know what? I'm good at 2. Or I'm good at 3, and I'll take on Phoenix.
All I know is
because none of them are going to fall to 4.
All that to say, because I said it once and I'm going to say it again. Boston, you're on the clock. So
I think Boston will be fine.
Ladies and gentlemen,
we talked about the West the whole time, but I think Boston will be fine.
Yeah,
I think
there ain't no need to talk about the East. We talked about the East for like the first 7 minutes.
Yeah, they're up 13. They're up 13. They're up 13 games.
Yeah, but ladies,
Embiid is not making up for 13 games. I don't care if they fall to the 18.
We'll see. Hey, Embiid with no pressure and no expectations.
There's no expectations on Embiid at all, anyway. Because I don't think people really believe he's going to win a championship, or has he ever been in a position to win one.
I think people believed last year he got the MVP, and I think people.
Did you think that Philly team was built to win and beat the best?
No, I don't think any team with Joel Embiid is. It's not about the team; it's about him.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. I don't think him. I don't think Embiid was going to be.
Embiid is not him. I'm just saying. But ladies and gentlemen, that is Mr. Logical. I am 2-5. We'll be back on Monday. Final 4. We'll be having a championship game that night live during the game. Not getting in trouble with CBS again and Viacom. But hey, we are Sports Reports as ordered. Thanks for the support. Like, review, subscribe, share it with grandma and everything. Shout out to Kun-san. Shout out to
Absolutely.
Brews. Shout out
Wolfpack.
Shout out to Cups in the Gang. Shout out to the Hot Box. Shout out to the world. We love you, and we'll be back.